Welcome, Brookhaven citizens, fellow elected officials, business leaders, city staff, and community partners. It is an honor to be here today and representing Brookhaven, Georgia's newest city. There's one more citizen here tonight who deserves special recognition, who has supported me throughout the cityhood campaign and the mayoral campaign. Some of you may know her as a teacher or a mother, but around my house, we simply call her the mayor, my wife, Carrie. Carrie, thank you, Carrie. If you please stand up. Thank you. I know town hall meetings or Tuesday night council meetings that last until midnight are tough during the school year, and it puts a big burden on a working mother with 3 children, and I certainly want to say how much I appreciate that. The rest of my family is here. Please, all of you stand up. The rest of everybody, please stand up. My mother, Mary, here. My brother, Todd, my sister, Stacy, and of course, my children, Lydia, Max, and Liza. Thank you all. All right. I appreciate your support all throughout my life, so thank you very much. Now, as more communities in DeKalb County are looking at cityhood, it is an honor for me to be here on July 31st, the 2-year anniversary of the day we proudly voted to incorporate. We will celebrate 2 years of full-fledged city operations about 6 months from now. At just over 50,000 people, we remain DeKalb County's largest city, but perhaps not for long. I have to admit a bit of trepidation today. This is my first State of the City speech for Brookhaven, and my first State of the City speech ever, of course. And I wanted to make sure, as I sat down to work, that I kept in mind the lessons from my speech class at UGA. I recall the rule, make sure your speech is at least 2.5 hours long. So, check. All right. Actually, I recall the maxim, tie into your message quotes from famous people. Well, I'm reminded of when Winston Churchill, speaking just after World War II, was introduced as, quote, the heart of the British Lion. Churchill corrected the person who introduced him, saying that the heart of the British Lion was in fact the British people. But it was his privilege when called upon to be able to sound their roar. On a much smaller scale, of course. I know the people of Brookhaven are the heart of our city, and I'm here today to sound their roar. I want to explain how a quote from another political figure, one of my heroes, guides me as Brookhaven's mayor. I was 9 years old when I heard Ronald Reagan say, "Government is not the solution to our problems, government is the problem." Along with my father, Reagan was and is my political hero, and that quote set me on fire. It crystallized, even for a 9-year-old, the fundamental misperception that government, any government, could solve every problem in everyone's life. We know in our hearts that no government can fix everything, but our expectation is, for some inexplicable reason, that it should. So how did that 9-year-old end up as the head of a government, a brand new government, a government that was criticized as being another layer of government before it was even formed? How can I make sure that Brookhaven's government doesn't become the problem? You've probably heard of our lowered millage rate, our financial reserve, our efficient delivery of services. I will touch on this later. Some of the other newer cities have similar accomplishments, but my question is, how can Brookhaven distinguish itself, help ensure that we don't become the problem in 10 to 20 years? I'll start with what I learned from my father. He was a delegate for Ronald Reagan in 1976, and he served in the State House for 22 years. He never voted for a tax increase, not once. He passed a few bills, one of which reduced the size of jury pools. That doesn't sound like an earth-shattering piece of legislation, but it has saved millions of dollars for county judicial systems since it was passed, and it's still doing so today. As a matter of fact, one of the bills he was proud of was one that made square dancing the official dance of Georgia. Not because he was a big square dancer going to hoedowns, but because it didn't cost the taxpayer a dime. Invariably, he would get opposition from the latest political newcomer. They would challenge his record in a debate or some other forum. "Davis, what bills have you passed? You've done nothing." He would pause and answer, "Well, there are plenty of fools running around the legislature passing new laws and regulations that are costing the taxpayer money." That's all he ever said. Max Davis was reelected 11 times. I think that proves he was onto something the voters appreciated. So how do we explain what kind of government we are? And how do we make sure that we are a government that is not the problem? Well, let's do a little compare and contrast. Where were we as an unincorporated community, and where are we now? Most of you know I was president of Brookhaven Yes, our incorporation group. Thank you again to all of you who were a part of that. And please stand if you are a volunteer. Come on, stand up. I know you're shy. Come on. If you're a part of Brookhaven Yes or Citizen of North DeKalb, you need to stand up. Come on. Get up. All right. Alan, you put out signs. You were there too. Thank you again. And as you may guess, I support the efforts of various groups around the county who are looking to form new cities. I'm confident that DeKalb will start to embrace new cities and see the advantages of partnering with us and other truly local movements. CEO May was here earlier tonight, and I want to thank him for his willingness to give the very idea of cityhood in DeKalb, the new movements, a fair shake. Apparently, interim is Latin for much improved. I'm also appreciative of the new collaborative relationship with his staff, and in particular, Zach Williams, the county COO, he has with our city manager. Thank you, Lee, and thank you, Zach, and thank you for the new era that we have in collaboration and cooperation with DeKalb County, our biggest partner. For the majority of voters on both sides of our cityhood debate, it came down to either, let's give this cityhood thing a shot, or, I'm not too sure about this, let's hold off. I respected both opinions as those of reasonable people thoughtfully disagreeing. Frankly, most of the organized opposition to cityhood, ours and others, was born of fear. Fear we couldn't make it work, fear that we couldn't afford a first-class police department, fear that we would be in deficit from the get-go, fear that taxes would have to go up. We were derisively called Brookhaven. Well, some of those fears were founded, and I understood them. But this was all being said just 18 months ago. It was being said in mailers and robocalls and on the internet. But Brookhaven has worked to overcome the fears that led to those sentiments and statements. And let me give you some specifics. Now, it isn't often that politicians bring out their campaign literature after the election, but I've always treated any literature I was involved with as a contract. And so I brought some with me tonight to help gauge whether I and city advocates are abiding by the terms and fulfilling the promise that is Brookhaven. I have some Brookhaven Yes contracts and contracts from my campaign. Most of the promises are similar, but I'm reading from the actual contracts here. We promised, quote, property taxes will be capped and you will pay the same or less that you were paying to the county. Our under the cap millage rate is 2.79. Whether it's a $300,000 home or a $1 million home, our homeowners will be paying between somewhere $50 and $220 less in property taxes respectively. Actually, earlier this week, the AJC just begrudgingly confirmed that the fact that Brookhaven homeowners pay less property taxes than those in unincorporated DeKalb. We promised that Brookhaven will have a $1 million surplus in year one. Well, we did. We put aside $1 million surplus in year one. We're using that as a reserve fund, and we should be able to more than double that amount to more than $2 million this year. We promised the police force would, quote, have at least 8 to 9 beat patrols at all times, doubling or tripling DeKalb's coverage. The Brookhaven Police Department has 8 to 10 patrols at all times, and sometimes as many as 12. We have triple police coverage in Brookhaven, and if you call our police department and let them know you'll be out of town, they'll check your house for suspicious activity while you're gone and give you a report when you return. No charge. We promise that Brookhaven will mean better parks. We will triple the budget for parks. Oops, that's incorrect. We sextupled it. Yes, Brookhaven is not spending 3 times more on parks. We're spending 6 times more on parks. I know I see a difference now, but just wait till this fall. We're starting a basketball league. We're repairing the gym at Linwood Park. We'll be making significant capital improvements at Briarwood Park, Murphy Candler Park, Brookhaven Park, Blackburn Park, Asher Park, and all of our parks. We're having to do lots of pool repairs, and we're doing them as fast as we can. We said, quote, zoning decisions locally, and boy, are they local. We promised Brookhaven will mean better roads and would increase road spending by 300% without a tax increase by keeping our dollars here at home. Well, city crews are working right now to pave 16 roads in Brookhaven. We budgeted $1 million in 2013 and another $1.28 million this year to pave more than 6.5 miles of roadway since Brookhaven began. We patched or repaired 152 potholes, street sections in 2013, and have done another 118 so far this year. In our first year of operations, we budgeted $450,000 for sidewalks and built or repaired sidewalks in 8 sections, nearly a mile of sidewalks that hadn't either existed or that DeKalb hadn't been able to repair. This year, we budgeted $500,000 and will repair or build roughly 1.2 miles of sidewalks. There were 3 major snow and ice events this year, and Brookhaven contractors cleared more than 20 miles of main roads, including state roads like Peachtree and Buford Highway. We contracted street sweeping vehicles to clear the gravel and sand after the ice events and ended up sweeping more than 48 curb miles of city roads. These are all things that we could never expect or count on the county to do. But I also want to be very clear about something here. I'm not blaming DeKalb County for their past record. I understand that the demand for county services is spread out all over DeKalb, and Brookhaven's needs are concentrated to our relatively small area. DeKalb County is big, Brookhaven is small. That makes us nimble. We are able to keep our focus local, intensely local to just Brookhaven. And that's how we can address these needs efficiently and quickly. But Brookhaven Incorporated, we did not secede. We are still proudly a part of DeKalb County, and we'll continue to partner with DeKalb County on initiatives in the future. Permit wait times in Brookhaven have dropped from 2 months to 10 days. That permit wait time and friendly customer service counter, I believe, are crucial in order to be a government that is not the problem. We can run our city like a business. This is becoming common practice for new cities, and it is exciting. This is how we are addressing those fears from 18 months ago. The group of people who believed we wouldn't make it, some who specifically joined an anti-city movement, they are also still a part of our city. In fact, they are some of our most involved citizens, sometimes serving as watchdogs. Now, we get to be very blunt. A lot of criticism comes from some of them. Now, much of it is just false, but some of it is valid and comes from a place that is well-intentioned. We welcome these civil discourse efforts because they help us become a better city. Now, being the best city we can be is a high goal. We have finite resources, limited time, and lots of demands. But it's a worthy aspiration, and more importantly, it's a principle that the council and I, and the people who served on the Governor's Commission, and the folks who sit on our advisor panels, and all the yes and no people can now agree on. Think about that. We created a city, and now our former proponents and opponents are all on the same side making Brookhaven better. I see them hugging and kissing at the food truck events. It's kind of nice. Sharing banh mi sandwiches. But can we become the problem even if we have low taxes and efficiency? I know at least one newer city with where the tree ordinance is something like 70 pages long. Our proposed tree ordinance is less than a third of that size. Good law doesn't have to be overly complex. I've always said that if you're a conservative or a libertarian focused only on lowering taxes, you're only doing half the job. Lower taxes, efficient delivery, competent management aren't enough. Stopping there is like quitting at halftime because you have a 21-point lead. We also need to repeal bad law. We have to institutionalize a little common sense and not let problems and pitfalls become the enemy of that common sense. We have to simplify and reduce the size of our codes. One of the first things we did was to repeal the low-flow toilet ordinance, which said that if you were retiring and selling your home as a teardown, you had to retrofit your home with low-flow toilets, costing your retirement thousands of dollars. We repealed and replaced the overly burdensome and overly complex height restriction on new single-family home construction. I think we will have accomplished something when I can take our entire code book from this size to this size. This will be done by simplifying code, making it robust, but also resisting the urge to overthink and over-control. Remember, power flows from the people to the government, not the other way around. Part of our success in keeping spending low has been our unique hybrid staffing model that is a mixture of vendors and city employees. With department heads as city employees and vendors being held accountable for their contracts by answering to that professional city staff. Not only has this strategy allowed us to get the best expertise in all areas of municipal government, but it has resulted in large financial savings. Our city manager, Maureen Garrett, renegotiated, look, she's texting right now and emailing and doing some work. She renegotiated our contracts with some of those vendors and saved Brookhaven more than $4 million. This and more has been done in just 18 months. We're the first city to try this model, and I think it's going to work. And Marie, you're obviously a big part of that, so thank you. Well, how else can we be not the problem? Listening and communicating. Right off the bat, I thought, Mondays with the mayor. For citizens, no agenda, no dress code, and that's been abused a little bit sometimes by some folks, the no dress code part. If you want to speak to your mayor, you just set up a time on a Monday and meet with him. I don't know of any city in the metro area that does this. I think this is really important because it shows that citizens come first, and it was the citizens that helped to build this city, and they will always have the prime access. They are my boss. And back to a campaign promise in one of those contracts, my office at City Hall doesn't have a door, so come on by and sit down. Good government communicates, which means it informs the citizens and listens to their concerns. We have an email blast list, a Facebook page, a Twitter account, and regularly published newsletters that go to every homeowner in Brookhaven through the mail. We're creating a brand new dedicated website for city news. It should be up and running right now. So check brookhavencitylimits.com for all the updates about all things Brookhaven is doing and planning. Whether it's making sure we have all our homeowner association lists or putting door hangers when we're repairing a section of sidewalk or road, Brookhaven works hard to tell everyone about everything we're doing. I don't know of any other city in the metro area, metro Atlanta area, that does as much notification and communication and outreach as Brookhaven does. But I feel we have to. It's a crucial part of being a good government. Good government is not just repealing bad law, running programs efficiently, and delivering value-added services. We have to protect our neighborhoods and our whole community's quality of life. Quality growth that respects the single-family neighborhood as its core. In addition to a comprehensive plan, we are now on the cusp of adopting the Buford Highway Improvement Plan, the Comprehensive Transportation Plan, the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. These will help Brookhaven carry out a vision for future development in our city, and they give predictability to the citizens on what they can expect from their city. This is an enormous amount of work undertaken with a very aggressive schedule. But with each of these plans, as with every step the council has taken, we have operated under the same guiding principle of doing what is best for Brookhaven's general wealth, health, safety, and well-being, and wallets. As part of that principle, we are in the midst of inspecting exteriors of every multifamily residence in the city to ensure compliance with maintenance codes. To date, we have inspected a quarter of the 66 apartment complexes in Brookhaven. This includes everything from making sure there are working fire extinguishers to the HVAC being in order and ensuring that playgrounds and pools are kept in safe working order. We're going to make sure that the interior living quarters in apartments are just as safe as the exterior. We want all families in Brookhaven to be safe, regardless of their income level. That is how good government fixes problems. Perhaps the thing that I'm most proud of is just how safe our city really is. Since the launch of the Brookhaven Police Department in July of last year, I can't drive through the city without seeing a Brookhaven patrol car ride past me or a Brookhaven police officer checking on the safety of a business. We have the best police chief in Georgia, Gary Yandura. Yes. It's easy to get applause when you talk about the police in Brookhaven, I'm telling you that. How do I know that our chief is best? Because I've met a lot of other police chiefs in Georgia, and they tell me how lucky we are to have him. And because our police get applause as they enter restaurants or other places in the city. That was astounding to me. Police officers telling me they walk into a restaurant, people just stood up and started applauding. That shows how committed our police staff is and our chief is, and how much our citizens appreciate the fine work that they do. I want to thank our council, Bates, Rebecca, and Joe. Please stand again, please. We agree on many things and we disagree on a few, but without a doubt, we have the best council in Georgia. I know this because we truly have a single vision for our city, and we work as a unified team for what we know will bring that vision into reality. And I know that's rare in city councils across the state because we go to the GMA convention where they're all the city councilors are in attendance, and I see some of the drama that goes on. For lack of a, we don't really have that with our city council. It's great. Over the next 18 months, I see a Brookhaven that continues to move toward a better future. We need to build on our early successes. Just today, we had a Google representatives at City Hall, and I'm pleased to say that Brookhaven is on track with the Google Fiber project, which will bring internet speeds in Brookhaven 1,000 times faster than at present. Thank you again, Marie. Yes. Thank you to Marie for staying on top of that hugely important project. I hear about it from folks you never think will be involved in politics. I got all these Google folks in the city. Yeah, bring us that fiber. We got to have it, got to have it. So we're going to try and get it. We're on track. We took over the parks from DeKalb County, parks that have the infrastructure or the bones that can make it the best park system in Metro Atlanta. I want to bring more community building festivals like the Soccer Fest that drew nearly 15,000 people to our city. The food trucks have been great, and music and cultural events are something I want to continue to initiate. Family-friendly, well-organized, and policed events that are conscious of neighbors, noise, and traffic. And speaking of traffic, we inherited a fairly heavy traffic problem, and we're not going to sit around without at least initially trying to help take the edge off of it. Our first effort will begin in September. It is aimed at traffic relief and is occurring on the Ashford-Dunwoody-Johnson's Ferry corridor. I know you've all sat in here. Yes. We are hopeful this fix will lead to improved conditions in Brookhaven and surrounding cities like Chamblee and Dunwoody. Cooperation with our municipal neighbors is crucial for congestion relief, and we look forward to future collaboration with these friends. Now I want to thank again our council, Bates, Rebecca, and Joe. Councilmember Joe Gebbia wants Brookhaven to be seen as environmentally friendly as possible. We're working on that already. He helped spearhead our designation as a city of ethics and continues to make sure Brookhaven minds its P's and Q's. Thank you, Joe, for that continued work. Councilmember Rebecca Williams has taken the leadership role on our new tree ordinance. And now that we've adopted the cherry tree as our official tree, she's working on ways to celebrate that this spring. The aforementioned traffic issue is something she's always working on as well. And yes, she is watching the budget like a hawk. Councilmember Bates Madison never stops pushing for economic growth, business development, and making Brookhaven a center for jobs and economic activity. And tomorrow afternoon, we are being interviewed by the State Commission for Charter Schools to see if we can launch the Brookhaven Innovation Academy, a first-of-its-kind state-sponsored independent charter school for Brookhaven. Brookhaven.education is the site for this effort. And again, thank you to Bates for helping drive that bus. No pun intended. The initiatives listed above are things that we all believe and have collaborated on as a unified team. I know that each of us is optimistic about Brookhaven's future, and that we need to take this jewel that Brookhaven is today and improve upon it and enhance it. Yes, we want to make our current citizens happy, but we want to make future generations, their grandchildren, proud of Brookhaven, a Brookhaven that really is the jewel of the Southeast. We want to take Brookhaven's current successes and build on them. It's one thing to build a couple miles of sidewalks, that's a feature. But we need to keep building them until we've created a truly walkable city, connecting neighborhoods to neighborhoods, neighborhoods to parks and retail areas. That is the benefit. Can we build enough sidewalks so that we can have lessened the need for people to use their cars and make that an additional element of reducing traffic in Brookhaven? That's part of the vision we're developing right now. It's one thing to have a great police department working to keep our citizens safe, but we need to also make sure that we're getting them where they need to be as fast as possible, which is why we're switching our 911 service over to Chatcom. This will provide our citizens with an emergency communication department that is fast, accurate, and accountable. No more answering machines for Brookhaven 911 calls. That's just another way how we build on the early success of our police department. Increased public safety, quicker response times, sustainable development into the future, getting government out of the way, lowering taxes, making laws that work, and creating information accessible to all of our citizens. These are just some of the benefits of municipalization. They're not pie-in-the-sky promises, they're real. Cityhood for Brookhaven has meant creating a form of government that I hope would make both my father and Ronald Reagan proud. We will continue to pass laws that strike the balance between protecting people and getting out of their way. We will continue to find ways to provide property tax relief while increasing the city's reserve fund and protecting its financial future. I know that as Brookhaven grows as a city and more communities choose new cityhood, these positive benefits will only increase. We want to spread the wealth of knowledge we are acquiring to other communities, just as it was shared with us from other new cities and governments. We want to spread quality growth and quality government. We will continue to partner with DeKalb County in new and better ways to achieve things through partnership that just wouldn't be possible if Brookhaven didn't exist. We are striving to be a government that works, government that is not the problem. We can't claim that the city of Brookhaven is perfect. Bumps in the road are part of every city startup. But we can point to all these accomplishments and prove that cityhood is a better form of government than what we had before our citizens voted to incorporate just 2 years ago. Our laws are better. Our public safety is better. Our streets are better. Our parks are better. All this with our property taxes lower. Brookhaven is better, and the state of our young city is very strong. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.